So I would like to begin with a quote that was forwarded to us by a student in the audience. And that quote is, "If you were aware of how precious today is, you could hardly live through it. Unless you're aware of how precious it is, you would hardly be able to live through it at all."
So we think this is actually an amazing inspiration for business thinking. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
So I'm Elizabeth, and my career has been about people, and specifically studying transpersonal psychology, trans being beyond or above, and psychology. So I've been looking at positive psychology and the science of thriving, because positive psychology says if we are healthy, it's not just because we are not sick. You can study people who are actually thriving, and that's what we want to move toward, is this area of positive living and embracing life fully.
And my background is as a corporate design guy. I ran design at Apple and Microsoft and Motorola and Mattel as well. So we're kind of pretty different people, right? Well, we started hanging out in LA at various dinner parties, and we said, this is kind of weird. We keep spending 2 or 3 hours together talking about the same subject. What's all this about? It's kind of strange, right? We started to talk about all the trends that we've actually heard today, trends that we all know about, trends that are becoming mainstream like green, new trends of wellness and thriving that Elizabeth's been talking about, all these things that are going on, and realized there was something about these that was kind of interesting.
In addition, we realized that we had some unique experience. So Tim's career has been about looking at consumer product development and how you create not only rational appeal, but emotional appeal as well, and how can you add the element of play. And my background is in organizations and looking at this area of awareness and consciousness. So if we're asking for fewer people to do more work, we have to actually start tapping different dimensions in order to be more effective and productive.
So the thing that we discovered that was common in all of this, in our experience, in all these trends, was an idea that's being talked about with all the amazing presenters today. This idea of meaningful value, and specifically the idea of meaningful value in business. So we decided we'd like to spend a bit more time with that.
First, we want to define what is meaningful. The definition of meaningful is of significant or important quality or purpose, and there's been a lot of meaningful talk today. Another way you can think about meaningfulness is...
Well, the idea of meaningful value in business doesn't replace what traditional business does. You still have to provide quality, reliability, cost, service, those kinds of things. It's this idea of value on top, right? That's what we're talking about with meaningful value.
And you can think of meaningful value as being about depth. So this is when we're aligning with people's values
you can do this with us
in a deep way. Or you can think about meaningful value as being about breadth. And so this is about value that connects us to something that's larger than ourselves. So Kim Cameron out of the University of Michigan says meaningful value is created when it's about the well-being of human beings in general, or when it connects us to a larger community. There's also an experience that we have of breadth and connection when we're doing something that has a larger long-term residual effect.
So we took this thinking, this idea of depth and breadth, and we went off and studied hundreds of businesses across multiple industries, and said, okay, so what's going on here about this idea of deep and broad, meaningful value? And what we realized, perhaps people in this room already know, is that the future of business is no longer about green. It's no longer about social responsibility. It's no longer about thriving cultures. It's no longer about emotional connection and all of those other things. It's about all of that. The future of business, the way to survive and be competitive in the future markets, is about looking at the whole enterprise from the perspective of how can we create meaningful value for all of the stakeholders of a business. So we chose to focus on this topic, and in spending time here, what we discovered was 231 better practices so far. In other words, 231 distinctly different ways that businesses and different industries create this higher order of value, this meaningful value. And we also realized that a way to organize this was like staring us in the face, which is we can map these better practices to the concept of a business model, right? So what's a business model? Let's talk about that just a little bit. We're going to introduce one to you here. Every business has a business model. Maybe they don't know about it, but they have it, right? And the concept of a business model is it just describes all the bits and bobs you need in a business, right? So you've got the offer. So every business offers something to a target market, and that offer has a positioning, right? So that's the first segment of the circle. Every business enables an experience for its customers, right? That experience of how do you find out about it, where do you get it, what is the use experience, and then also what happens after that use experience. So that's the experience bit. And then every business has to have an ecosystem of all the things you need to produce the product or service, right? So you've got the facilities, the people, the partners, and all the activities that you do. So what we did is we said, all right, if we take that business model idea and we draw these beautiful colored rings around the outside, beautiful colored rings around the outside, what we're able to do is we find a way that we can just organize these better practices. So 231 doesn't make your eyes glaze over, right? We can start to organize it. So we put the first ring around the outside, and this is about meaningfulness to the individual. This is about deep, meaningful value, right? Oh, excuse me. Come on, everybody. Okay. And here are some examples of that. Okay, so we've got Patients Like Me. You guys know about that? This is an amazing business that allows patients who are really sick, like so very serious illnesses, to talk to each other about their journey of recovery and sharing experiences, sharing advice with each other, being a support group. Profoundly valuable. A business that evokes a genuine empathy, a genuine caring for those patients. That is a better practice. Here's an example. I have to walk a little closer here. I'm getting blind in my old age. Oh yeah, triggers a fond cultural memory, right? Here's an amazing company called Vert Catering in Vancouver that delivers their organic sandwiches on these 1920s British delivery bicycles, right? Reminds you of the old days. Oh, it's great cultural memory, right? Better practice. Here's another one. This is Tom's Shoes. You probably know about these guys, right? They give a free pair of shoes to a child in need for every pair that's sold. Whoa, is that meaningful or what, right? The story of that is very meaningful. Here's a San Francisco company called Remade that takes your old leather jackets and all those stories and memories of what happened as this jacket aged with you over the years. And when the jacket is worn out, they turn it into a bag. So you can still live with those memories, right? That personal memory, the personal history is there as you go forward.
So companies are creating deeper value for their employees and their partners, and this is an example of Continental Airlines, which allowed over 600 reservation agents to work from home. Another way that companies create meaningful value for employees is by enabling each employee's potential. So this is Yelp, and Yelp actually asks the people that come to work there, what are your career aspirations? Because they want to see if they can't grow as a company to be able to contain the dreams of their employees. This is an example of a meaningful partnership. This is Harper Studios, a publishing company. And in an industry that normally pays about 7 to 15% of the revenues to authors, Harper Studio only publishes 2 books a month, and they give 50% to authors. And then they also give the authors these flip cameras so that they can document the experience of writing the book and share it with their population.
The second beautifully colored ring is the ring of meaningfulness to the community. So here we can see some really great examples. Zipcar, obviously, like enabling car sharing. That's very meaningful to the community who doesn't want to have all these cars on the road. Nine Inch Nails delivers their music, releases their music for free. Wow, what a great way to kind of connect the fan club with each other. We have the idea of Alvarado Bread here.
So this is meaningful to the community, the employee community, because it's profit sharing. So Alvarado Bread employees on the assembly line are making $65,000 a year and being able to participate in the decision making.
And then we have the final colored ring, also beautiful, is green, the meaningfulness to the environment, right, or the earth. So of course we've got many examples here. Sony, in fact, was showed a great example of commitment to recycling by accepting all brands, not just Sony brands, when they were recycling their products for free. And you don't have to purchase a Sony product. Great commitment, right?
This is an example of Burgerville, an alternative to McDonald's or Burger King. Burgerville is a local ecosystem. So they have strawberry shakes in the summer, they have sweet potato fries and pumpkin shakes in the fall. All of their suppliers are local, and all of the foods that they put into their chains are local.
So we've introduced to you this idea of these 3 rings to just show how different better practices, some of the 231, map to different parts of the business model, right? But the point we're trying to say here is that what's happening in business is that we look at a company like G Diapers, for instance, who focuses on a green values-based community and sells to them biodegradable diapers. They're leading that in the industry. This is so energizing to the mums and dads involved that the G mums and G dads voluntarily help distribute the products. They go own a store in America and they help with sales, right? They help this company succeed for free. They're that energized, right? The whole notion of the message of what this company represents is a better practice in its own right. And finally, of course, because these are biodegradable, that's good for the planet. So we're starting to show here how you think about better practices linked together. Here's an ice cream truck. Oh, that's English, isn't it? What's the American version? I forget. Called Cool House, right? Cool House takes old postal jeeps. I did it again. Mail jeeps. Oh, I give up. And they paint them pink and silver, right? So that's kind of like a cultural memory, seeing these things drive around. Reminds you of your youth. They tweet where they're going and ask people to tweet where they'd like them to go. So that engages the whole community in what's going on. They sell these really cool ice creams that are very just sort of architecturally themed. They're actually really funny. They kind of make you smile with the themes that they have. That are wrapped in rice paper so the packaging is edible, so that's obviously good for the planet. Okay, now we're seeing how the better practices work together, right, to create a business that really is meaningful on many fronts.
In terms of making meaningful cultures, Threadless is a great example. So Threadless is a t-shirt company, and they have a warehouse where they have skateboard ramps and they have ping pong tables, and people from the community just come and hang out because it's like a playground. One of the people that is now their creative director he was a kid who would come and hang out, and he wanted to help. He wanted to do something, and he's now the creative director of the company. So they are very much about empowering their employees or anybody. They have very meaningful partner practices. So this is a t-shirt company where anybody can submit a design, and then the community votes on the design, and whatever design wins gets printed. And then that person gets money. So it's this idea that anyone can contribute to their product. Another example of a company that is probably familiar to Ted, Chip Connolly, he created Joie de Vivre, the joy of life. This is a hotel company. And they have very meaningful infrastructure. He allows all of their people to use wellness facilities, and they get discounts for massages and wellness. They also run on green energy as often as they can. They have green scorecards online, so you can see all 49 properties' green practices. They have a Joie de Vivre University, so the employees can learn about how to deal with difficult customers, but they can also do things like take yoga classes, stress management classes, or anything they want. Chip demands that all managers in his company be evaluated for relationships and results. A big one. Oftentimes people are getting promoted for results only, and they may be destroying relationships, but he demands both from his people. And finally, this is Little Pickle Press. This is a high-impact media company for the next generation. And they're providing parents the ability to talk to their little kids, 3 to 7 years old, about difficult subjects. So they're educating a community. They're also giving 10% of all of their proceeds to the Starlight Foundation here in LA, and the Starlight Foundation helps sick kids. And then again, all of their procurement is local. So this entire book was made locally using soy inks and all of the green procurement practices. But the most important thing is that they're educating the next generation. So the 3 books that are coming out from Little Pickle Press are, number 1, what does it mean to be present? Teaching little kids about knowing what their values are in any moment. Number 2, what does it mean to be global? Teaching little kids about the whole entire world and to care for it. And then finally, what does it mean to be green? So meaningfulness to the individual kids and broadening their awareness, right?
So this is the next generation. We know that. It's coming forward. Our slides have ended. So I think we're with 10
we
seconds
got time,
to space.
10 seconds.
They chopped us off.
That's the conclusion.
We wanted to put it into historical context just very quickly, right? Which is this idea that the Industrial Revolution was about standardization. Then it was about quality. How do you improve these products, right? Then it was the voice of the customer. How do you listen to people and ask them what they want? We think this is now the next generation of business thinking. It's about how do you create meaningful value. It's the same goal that the altruists have as the pragmatists have in business. We think this is an idea worth sharing.
Spreading.
Thank you very much.